Greetings, my fellow Necromorphs. I am your host, Brother Moon Brandel. We're joined here on this lovely little discussion here about Dead Space Remake. Our initial impressions on the trailer we got. We're just gonna have like a light discussion, talk about what's gonna like what it could do, what could happen, what they could cut, yada yada yada, something. So, joining here with me is I'll start from the top. Renegade, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm affected on the Ishimura, and I'm looking forward to this podcast.
Black Shadow.
Yeah, howdy everyone, Shadow here. It's hard chat on my depth. Usually I'm here for a lot of the Resident Evil survival horror stuff, but I mean, this is the next best thing for what should be a interesting 90 minutes.
Yeah. Alia, sorry I'm saying that wrong. Introduce yourself.
You do that every time. It's okay. It's Alia.
Yeah, I know.
My experience with horror. I used to be in the horrorcore rap scene. And I play a lot of horror video games on Twitch. I occasionally pop in here. Haven't in a few months. So if anybody forgot who I am, hello.
And apparently our Dead Space 3 expert for the day, so congratulations.
I am not a very proud person to say that.
All right, and last but not least, I'm just gonna call you Cool, Mr. Cool Face. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Austin, and I'm actually just starting to get into the Dead Space franchise, and I was originally going to start playing Dead Space 1 in October, but because the reboot came out, I started playing today.
Okay, that's cool.
He's the Dead Space baby.
Hey, you forgot me, you son of a bitch.
I'm the Dead Space baby.
Who are you again?
Shut the fuck up.
Okay, Eli, introduce yourself.
Hey, what's good? I can't wait for the remake to come out so we can clap Nicole's cheeks.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so question number one. What are your initial thoughts on the Dead Space Remake teaser, and how do you feel about it being on current gen only? Personally, I'm perfectly okay with this because they could work on the new hardware with no compromise for last gen. So like I'm more than welcome it being current gen only. Especially since like today news actually the PS5 broke 10 million, which is it hits that milestone a lot quicker than the PS4 did, and I think the PS2 as well. So yeah, the PS5 is doing work though, even with the current problems that are in the electronic industry and whatnot. But yeah, I'm perfectly okay with it.
Yeah, details obviously are not particularly sparse at the moment. You know, the trailer is just there you go. We're going to be doing this in some point down the line, and yeah, it's kind of basically a watch this space sort of trailer. I mean, it looks decent. I guess for what you see, which is like 4 scenes, which I suppose isn't saying very much.
You think that was in engine?
Sorry?
You think that trailer was in engine?
It said at the bottom it was, right?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it did.
Footage, yeah, which represents the developments. And so yeah, obviously, and this then ties into the fact it's going to be current gen only, which I think is probably understandable. I mean, this game isn't coming out like at the end of the year. This is a fair way down the line. And by the time this comes out, like gaming is going to be in a situation where it is come to this point where we have pushed on. The transition period is kind of like it feels like it's been pretty abrupt, anyways. I think from past gen to this gen, compared to say like like their 360 Xbox One, for example, it felt like it took years to like fully convert over to one side. They're making 360 games for forever and a day. So it doesn't surprise me this is going to be current gen only by the time this game comes out, which is probably like 18 months down the line, 2 years.
Yeah, because Microsoft themselves said like they don't support the Xbox One with ports for like another 2 years from the date that the Xbox Series whatever came out. Yeah. So like by the time Dead Space came out, then eventually like developers are going to move on, to the stronger hardware. So because the install base is getting there, like so. As well.
Definitely. There was something that was mentioned quickly. Hang on a second. Because we mentioned before about like there's definitely some inspiration from like Resident Evil, which was mentioned. Ren mentioned about like Resident Evil 2 remake, and I mean it's pretty easy to make the suggestion that they saw how good and how well received Resident Evil 2 remake was, and think, oh, maybe we can have a slice of this pie. I think the problem with that though is the reason that it worked is because it was objectively a really good game. It was incredibly well made. It tucked to all the boxes. It was something still refreshing as well. It took the base concept and somehow kind of brought it almost into the current age. And I think that's why it works. So just trying to do this because that worked is not reason enough to say this is just going to print money. There's definitely a ton of interest. The series is obviously very fondly remembered to a point. But
To a point.
to a point, yes. But I mean, like personally, I'm a little skeptical. Like, I want to be impressed. I want to be looking forward to this. I actually reckon the end concept probably could be pretty decent. But
the problem is EA, so like you always have some form of
they
skepticism.
haven't always coated themselves in glory.
Yeah, it's especially the Frostbite engine.
I
Goddamn, that thing a piece of work.
I have some hot takes about the whole EA thing and how people perceive that for the next question, but I just wanted to add on that I think personally it's the trailer itself, the teaser itself, it's not a lot to go on, and I can kind of see that because you just see like Ishimura and you see the insides and you see like Isaac's back and that's it. They didn't really show a lot, but that's the intention. The intention is, hey, we're doing this. Yes, this gets you hype, and we're gonna probably roll out more footage as we hit to E3 and other conventions and things like that.
It's an interest peaker. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is, and that's exactly what it's done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hear anything until like next year's E3.
Oh, definitely. I think there's gonna be gameplay probably there, no doubt, or maybe another EA play.
Maybe
I
something
wouldn't-
at the Video Game Awards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect to see this out until 2023. I'd be kind of shocked if it was out before that, personally.
I thought this was coming out this year.
Oh hell no, no.
Did you
no.
imagine it did though?
No. I think this is good. This is a fair way down the line. This is a serious project. The thing is, they've got to do it properly. Like, you can't half-ass this. Like, this is a pretty serious take on to
This
try
is a
and do
cult
this.
favorite. You can't fuck it up. Excuse the language,
Exactly.
but
And if you do, you will be skewered. I mean, all right, admittedly, you could be doing a lot worse than EA at the moment. Obviously, there are other companies that are in significantly hotter water at the moment than EA. Yeah. But this is like, I can't say I know particularly well, and I don't know if many people have been saying for years, remake Dead Space, or do Dead Space 4, whatever the hell else. I don't know. I can't attest to it. But like, having played this game not that long ago, even now, like, was like 6 months ago or so, it still played out pretty decently, and I very much enjoyed it. But you can't screw this up. Like, if they don't do a good job here, it's a serious problem, and it will be like, it's one of those things that could just get noted in the analogs of gaming history as this was a monumental cock up, and everyone will remember it.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to heal from that if they mess up.
yeah, I hope they don't have the situation, which I know I'm about to get real stupid and detailed. Dead Space 3, when it was first coming out, was pretty much in development hell. Like, the original concept was completely scrapped 5, 6, 7 times by EA because they wanted to make it more like Dead Island for some reason. I don't understand that. One of the developers actually mentioned that they were trying to do that. I don't get
That's
it.
disgusting.
That one's not even that good.
So
yeah,
they
no.
scrapped it so many times, and it just sat in development hell till the point where people pretty much forgot about it. And I really hope EA doesn't fuck up and do that again, because if they do, they're probably going to be eaten alive, not only by the fans of the Dead Space games, but the horror community in general, because there's absolutely no excuse for constantly doing that.
Then again, it's EA, so they'll probably live.
When did Dead Space 3 come out again?
Uh,
Like
24?
20,
Yeah,
2013?
2013,
about
2011,
10 years.
somewhere around there.
I remember a lot of games were in development hell back then at EA. Dragon Age 2.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
The only
Yeah.
thing I want to kind of mention is that I don't get why people are mad at this. I don't get why they're mad that is current gen only, because don't you want the game to be, good, and it won't have another version on last gen, like cocking things up, and don't
Not
you want
being
it?
held back.
Yeah, not being held back, and
Dragon Age.
yeah, working on the SSD and all stuff like that. I don't get it. Like, why do people want to be regressive
Yeah,
on this?
like this is like, okay, I get it that you're not ready to upgrade just yet though, but eventually you're going to. And people say like there's no reason for me to buy the new consoles because there's no games, quote unquote. But here they are making a game for next gen only, and that people are mad about it. It's like it's a double standard type thing. It's happened even when the PS4 was coming out. Like games like Shadow of Mordor had a PS3 version, I think 360. No, it didn't do too well because it ran like ass. Wolfenstein had a 360 and PS3. You know, Rise of the Tomb Raider had a 360 version. No, things that have been ported to previous gen though, and a lot of them weren't even that great on that previous gen hardware. So at some point though, just move on. Ubisoft did it with Assassin's Creed. They made one game for previous gen, and they just moved on with next gen with the Unity and they're right out. So at some point, people, you gotta move on.
Yeah, I
It
also
makes-
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It makes sense on both ends. I kind of see why people are upset because, especially Sony's end, they are trying really hard to push to hurry up and not have any transition period at all, even though right now they're kind of failing because, as mentioned previously, with the issues of getting parts and stuff right now to put the consoles together. But like you were referencing some of the games, the only games last gen that were ported to the previous gen before that actually worked well were games like the Tomb Raider game, where they were working on two different teams to make two different versions of the game. Essentially, when you ported backwards for games like Dragon Age Inquisition or other stuff from EA that did that, because they kind of did that with a lot of games around that time, it ran so horribly. It was pretty much unplayable. So why would you want them to try to do that again?
Yeah, it just splits.
Exactly.
It splits development resources. If you take Resident Evil Village as a pretty decent recent example, when it first was announced, they were talking about it, and they said it would obviously be out for the current generation, as it was at the time, or is still. They initially weren't really that keen on doing a pre-gen version. They weren't sold on it. They were kind of like they got asked about it and it was sort of like, well, like the problem is if we do it, we're going to start splitting resources and we don't quite know where things are going to stand. And I think it was later on down the line they eventually decided they were going to do so. But I think people underestimate it's not just as simple as you make the game on current gen and then you degrade the quality a little bit, put it on a different disc and sell it. Like it's not even remotely how it works.
But they're whole totally different development kits. So you gotta have a team that's knowledgeable on old gen to even make it somewhat playable. And if you're gotten used to with the whole team, like you said with Resident Evil Village, they got used to those dev kits for the new gen and then had to go backwards and learn how to rework with the older console, which just makes it more difficult.
And you got to think ahead with this sort of stuff. As I said, if this is not coming out for a year, 18 months, 2 years, you've got to kind of make a stab at where do you think it's going to be at that time. If you take in 18 months' time, it's completely different. The speed that gaming is still going, progression-wise, at this moment in time is crazy. You think this is the start of 2023. The PlayStation 4s and all that sort of thing are going to be like distant memories.
I'm still baffled with how. Oh, sorry.
The people complaining are usually the same ones who are complaining that, these companies were talking about making all these improvements during the 360 PS3 years, and then they didn't do half the stuff they wanted to, like with the Kinect or with the Move or all of those things where they were really experimenting with a lot of shiz. And people were bitching about that, and now they're bitching that it's moving too fast. You can't seem to make up your mind, and I don't understand it.
There are legitimate concerns and, brought up sometimes. Again, if this game was coming out like this year, then you definitely have a case and say, that you should probably consider doing something like that because a lot of people are still using, those consoles. But, you're looking far, far further down the line and there has to be a cutoff point eventually. No developer, I don't think, particularly likes being the first one to make the jump because they get a lot of stick and a lot of flack, which is usually bad faith. But it has to happen eventually.
Look at this. Look at this though. Like if they delay their project to like X amount of years, then that's more time for them to fine tune the hardware to their to their liking with the game. So it's a win for the developers when they don't jump to next gen right away and do like cross gen games. So just wait, make a project and then release it like X amount of years later, whenever they feel like releasing it.
And if you're that antsy about it, just get the PC version and just turn the graphics down loads. Same thing.
Yeah, the PC version, that's available. Honestly though, if you have a decent PC, hopefully this game will be too demanding for maybe lower ends because we have still pretty juicy graphics cards. But still, that's an option because PC is accessible to everyone.
So there's one thing I want to mention. I'm sorry, Eli. There's one thing I want to mention. And then you can go next. They said that they are making this game as seamless as possible in the interviews. They said that from start to finish, you're going to be able to go through the game and not have any cuts or any interruptions or things like that. So if they're gonna make this game like seamless and no cuts or anything, they will have to make this like current gen only, because that's where the hardware lies, the technology and everything to get that done.
You know, in fairness though, like Capcom is like the de facto example of this because of 7, 2, 3, and surprisingly even 8. Now, in the case of 8, though, considering that it was the downport of the PS5 and Xbox Series, whatever ports, right? You still have like technically loading screens if you go too fast for the game to load. Because I had even like maybe it happened like 5 times throughout my whole experience with Village. There are times where the game will black out for a second and then load back up. Sometimes it'll take a little bit of time. Others are just really quick. But case in point, though, it can be done on the PS4 or Xbox One, though. But it clearly want to go bigger beyond, considering that the systems were designed to be seamless as possible for the.
In Village's defense, there were some enormous areas that it had to try and load. You know, the very nature of something like Dead Space, it's far more confined.
It's more linear.
Yeah,
it's far more linear, and it's much smaller areas, so it shouldn't particularly be an issue, I don't expect.
But Eli, you were saying something?
Yeah, no, I was gonna mention about the solid-state drives in the consoles.
Yeah,
Like-
that's the thing they mentioned.
For older PCs, like mine still has like hard drives, like normal hard drives still in there, like not an SSD isn't here yet.
So maybe they will have like loading times on PC if you have that situation.
Yeah, if you have a slow hard drive.
Okay.
All right, I guess we're done with this one. That was a pretty nice conversation there. All right, Renegade, I'll let you be the guest of honor. Read number 2 off.
All right, so there's been some turmoil amongst the community that Visceral Games died so EA Motive could walk. Visceral Games was only liquidated into the company and spread out into other projects. They weren't simply let go. Is it reasonable to still be upset that this new idea is a thing despite fans being vocal about wanting more Dead Space?
Gotta let it die eventually, haven't you?
It's like, okay, I get the sentiment of Visceral Games like being shuttered and that initial reaction of what the fuck, well, we're not gonna get any more Dead Space, and that happening and that being a thing. At the same time, I kind of lean to the point that it can't be any worse for EA, because I think people see EA and they say negative connotations, and I get that. But so far with their games, when they said and made promises that Jedi Fallen Order is not going to have microtransactions, we're going to let people do whatever the fuck they want with Titanfall 2 and A Way Out, they definitely did those things. So I think when there's no corporate management going on between these projects and these developers, their games turn out well. But I still think it's kind of weird they have to mention that microtransactions is basically a blurb now. It's not going to be in our game. That's a positive thing. Woohoo. I think that's kind of weird. But
that's more of a bad state of gaming, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be quite honest, yeah, like considering it's the EA we talking here, because remember back in 2017, you know, the Battlefront 2 situation, like that's them, like that's their image now, unfortunately, whether they like it or not. So they have to clarify certain things when it comes to loot boxes or whatever.
Yeah,
regardless of what game it is.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, it's like they're slowly doing it. I'm telling you now, it's weird that EA is basically the lesser of these 3 evils between Ubisoft, Activision, and the company itself.
That's a sorry state of affairs, isn't it?
It really is.
Toxic bin of garbage right there.
Yeah, it really is.
Unfortunately though, like EA right now at least is small potatoes compared to what's happening with those other 2.
At least EA is making a
all
comeback.
The lawsuits, man.
But to give EA a little credit here though, like they are actually trying, because they even made a new studio to bring back the Skate IP, right? Like this EA this year, today at this hour, is not EA yesteryear. They wouldn't have been doing this kind of shit if that 2017 event that happened to them. So like it's a good thing that happened, because now they're actually trying, keyword trying, to get back in people's good graces.
Yeah, 2017 was worse. Like awful,
the thing
dude.
with EA is that they need to start releasing games. Like more, just to get on that level of how they were.
They did say that they're not releasing well, they didn't say that. They said they're not releasing any news on Star Wars stuff or whatever was going on with their last EA Play. And I kind of get that because maybe that stuff is not ready, but they had something ready for Dead Space, which is this teaser.
Yeah.
I mean, is it also possible that obviously because Mass Effect was not long since released, wasn't it? That was only like what, last month? I
Like
think
2 months ago.
It was
About
Yeah.
6
Give or
months.
take.
months ago.
You know, yeah, and that seems to have gone down pretty well. So they're thinking, well, if we can do one, maybe we can do the other.
People were complaining about the lighting in the Legendary Collection, but honestly, it didn't phase me that much.
Well, it's all preference at the end of the day, though. But I do admit, though, there's certain changes that weren't necessary. Others were like, yeah, they need to because of hardware limitations at the time. Again, just preference at the end.
Yeah, I know a few changes that got some people riled up. Cough, cough.
Yeah, don't worry about it yet.
I don't know. I being honest, I've got gifted it by someone. I've never actually played any of the series. I do intend to.
Really, no.
Never
That's only Andromeda.
Never touched.
Actually, you're gonna have to touch Andromeda to get into the next one.
I think I value my mental space well enough to not touch that.
It's fine. I mean,
I speak as someone who played it like on launch, and
If
with
I
the
put
patch, I still fall through planets.
yeah, I put it like this: if it's done well for them to reinvigorate interest, no matter like what people think, then they're gonna want to do more sequels with it. Obviously, I think for Dead Space, they know this is a test. They want to be able to say, hey, we're gauging interest. Do people like it? And if so, maybe we're gonna move on to other things. I think that leads into question number 3 as well. But does anyone else have any sort of opinions on question number 2?
I mean, on the good side too, I do want to say most of the team that used to work on the original games, a lot of them are still with EA. So it's not like we're 100% just going to have people who don't know what they're doing for sure just throwing their hat in. And even if they do, it could bring great ideas.
That's kind of what I said.
Can look at
Also,
people who used to work on these games and who started the story for advice and stuff.
Yeah. That's kind of what I said. Like, liquidation is different from letting people go. And I don't think that people understand that. It's weird.
well, like, kind of depends, though. You could liquidate too and also let people go because, it's business. It could go both ways, even with liquidation. But even with that in mind, though, like, with motive as well, like, the developers said, like, they're big fans of Dead Space themselves. So I'm confident to say that the game's in good hands with the studio. And plus, like you guys said, like they still could have people from Visceral that could be working in motive.
Yeah.
Or they could bring in old people from like the other games. Also, one thing to keep in mind as well, like the team that made Dead Space 2 is not the same team that made Dead Space 1.
Yeah, like the lead director wasn't even on Dead Space 2.
Exactly.
So, but here's the thing, like, if they liquidated them, I remember the Star Wars statement, like, vividly. They said they're getting these people to work on Star Wars Battlefront 2. They're not, like, necessarily gone. They're just, like, in another side of the studio in the closet somewhere, right? So they can get that input, just go all the way over there, talk to them. They're actually talking to fans, and they have like a Visceral team member on board, and they're getting input from him.
And they put most of EA in the same building now, as far as the dev teams too. So it's not like they can't just take a freaking elevator and go, hey.
What made Dead Space good? Here it is. Like, there's ideas to be had. Write it down for me, please.
Respawn at the top level.
Okay.
Of course. I mean, I like Respawn. They're good.
Yep, I need to play that default too.
So I guess we can move on to number 3.
Yes. Who wouldn't read that one off? Let's see. Going once, going twice. Oh damn! I'm about to go with Black Rock Shadow, but never mind.
Not my name.
Shadow over here singing the Ting Ting song. That's my name.
Okay.
My life.
Hey, go ahead, Eli.
There were also some fans that would have taken Dead Space 4 over this remake. Do you agree with their sentiment, or do you think they need to test out these few new features beforehand?
Actually, that's a good question. I think maybe a remake might be a better start or something than just making a new game, because they could easily screw up the remake, right, but do better on the next game. So this might be a good bridge to make some practice done perfect for Dead Space 4 or whatever you're going to call it.
Problem is,
And-
Dead Space 3 is still like 9 years ago. That's a
Yeah.
long time to suddenly decide,
Almost
we're
a
going to do a
decade.
4th game. That's an incredibly long time.
Also,
think-
the remake is really good for introducing new players. We haven't
Yeah,
gotten to
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I think the
think-
remake is also a good way for them to show how much they actually care about the series too.
I think one of the
Mhm.
very few series that went like a decade without a game and still somehow was successful was like Fire Emblem or Dragon Age. You know, games that have literally built 30 years of history can take that long and then just drop a game. For something like Dead Space, which already during its 3rd game was very tarnished because of how it was handled and how its development went and everything, I think restarting is probably the best option we have, not only for the developers who are coming in who have no experience with it, but also for the fans who have no idea what's going on.
I mean, we're hardly into Half-Life 3 territory, but I think it's just too long. Like if you're want to do something like new with the series as such, then you better often almost do like a size, a bit like it's almost like what Severed was in a way to Dead Space 2. You know, something that relates, but it's still kind of on its own, and it still adds to the lore. But I think trying to do a direct sequel from a game that a series that hasn't seen light of day, like almost at all for like 9 years. What are you expecting? What are you hoping for? And how can you expect to be like satisfied with what you get? Because it's been so long. What are you supposed to expect anymore?
They dropped the last DLC for Dead Space less than a year after it came out for Dead Space 3. So they dropped when EA like messed it up by, and I'm gonna say EA because they were the execs that were making the decisions to keep scrapping the original ideas and making them have shorter development times as time went on and hype was built for it. I think they just kind of put their hands up and already went, well, we're done with this so quickly that a restart is kind of necessary in order to try to clean up the mess that they made.
And it's not obviously the worst space to come from. I mean, like I said, not played Dead Space 1 that long ago. It still like holds up. I think is a fairly solid title. It's an experiment. Not everything works. And like personally, Dead Space 2 I thought was very uneven at times. But I think given everything that happened with 3, allegedly, and I obviously I haven't played it, so I don't know. But you don't have to play it to know. Obviously, it ran through all sorts of trouble. To suddenly say 8 years later, oh, we're going to do a sequel to this. I mean, that's asking for trouble. And Fate tends to take you up on those offers very, very often. I think this is probably the best move, even if it's not satisfactory to everyone. I think hopefully and probably history will look back and think this was the best decision, I suspect.
A small
And people are
part of
going to
me
bitch no
did
matter what.
want, oh my God.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. A small part of me did want Dead Space 4 to be announced, but seeing how really passionate they are for remaking the first game, I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Okay. Any more thoughts and opinions on this question?
Yes, I just want to say real quick that I think it's what you guys said. You hit the nail on the head. Too much time has elapsed for them to instantly jump into a sequel, and not only that, they have to explain the cliffhanger of the Brethren Moons being there when Isaac blacked out at the end of the Awakened DLC. It's a lot to take in. I know they have cliff notes of ideas of Dead Space 4, and they said that they were going to have a bigger world, shift protagonists, maybe go to Earth, but they should save that until they actually get the formula right, because I think I would be more skeptical if it was a sequel and they didn't have the foundation right and they totally shifted to a whole new studio and we were just supposed to say, hey, this is cool, this is awesome, whatever. We need to see gameplay and how this remake works first, and then that's the test bed for them to do the sequel if they decide to do one. I know people were saying they want them to remake Dead Space 2, but I'd be fine with that. It wouldn't be a big deal.
That can happen after the fact, but let's focus on one first.
I'd buy it instantly.
Yeah, one step at a time.
Yeah, baby steps. Maybe
remake the first game, then move on to the 4th game, then go back to the 2nd game,
Oh God.
They could play some
So,
Final
like
Fantasy.
Capcom.
I mean, Capcom,
Yeah.
yeah, they could play some dance there because they did that with Remake and, Remake 3 and all that shit and went back to 7 and so much stuff with that.
Am I reading 4?
All right, go right
Sure.
ahead if you want.
There you go.
All right.
Oh, you cut out?
I did.
Yeah.
What are some
Yeah.
things you want to see upgraded or changed from the original experience?
There we go.
Oh, that's easy. The upgrade system itself, like I'm not a big fan of how they did the nodes in 1 and 2. I enjoyed it more in 3 because it was just more straightforward.
I didn't know it
getting
changed in
upgraded.
3, so
Yeah, I was not a particular fan of the node system. I felt like it's just like busy work. Like, okay, place a thing here, you get nothing for it. Place a thing here, you can get 2 paths. Place a thing here, you can also get nothing for it. That kind of thing. It's
To
like,
be
what's the
fair-
point of me doing that kind of stuff?
To
It
be
just feel like extra.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a very primitive system, but it did spawn like a whole load of games that kind of like took that idea and kind of ran with it. Everything from RPGs to also this kind of system. It's like the illusion of choice, isn't it?
Well,
and I
things
think-
though, other RPGs have done it before Dead Space even came out, and it done the system better because at least you get something for going towards a node of some kind.
No,
Whereas
yeah, I
Dead
suppose
Space,
so.
there's too many gaps in between certain nodes.
Yeah,
Whatever
and,
weapon
and,
it is.
and I think the problem was as well, like you do feel like you're kind of forced to commit, especially in the first game. That was the problem. You feel like once you've committed onto something, like you've kind of got to stick with it or really justify that you don't like it at all, or you just don't spend anything on it early, and then you think it's worse than it is, you don't touch it, sort of thing.
And it makes it
Also-
miserable.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But also the way the special doors that you get by using those same upgrade things for
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
weapons. I think they should like separate that, like either have a different system for your upgrades and have the little note things for doors, that kind of thing.
Yeah, or
Because, like,
maybe
they're already,
like,
like,
like a
could,
key item, maybe like you can pick up, like a key or something, or something. Yeah, I think that'd be not the worst idea.
Or maybe it could
I-
be related to something to do with Isaac's engineering skills. Maybe you could try to hack it open.
Yeah, that's right. You don't see
They
much
could turn it into.
Isaac's
They could make it a
engineering
mini
stuff.
game of some
Yeah,
kind.
make a rewiring game.
Yeah, a little rewiring game. I
Yeah,
could-
they
I could-
kind of didn't they kind of try that in the second one, right?
Yes, yeah, they sort of played around with that with like
Very
the
little.
with some bits and pieces. Yeah, though it was not very good, I don't think. But they kind of played around with that.
It was
I'm
something.
gonna
at
say
least.
something.
Good.
I'm gonna say something controversial. I think, especially for a game like Dead Space, as far as the horror realm, taking notes from the ridiculous mini game, even though this game is ridiculous and everybody clowns me for actually enjoying it, I think they could take mini game notes from Lollipop Chainsaw. They somehow made those mini games work, even though it was so dumb sometimes, and made the mini games actually interesting enough that you actually wanted to complete it and get it done, even if you messed it up the first few times.
I don't have an opinion on that because I haven't played Lollipop in years. So honestly, I don't remember what the mini games were. So I'm not gonna no comment on that one.
I am
Personally.
still pissed that's not on PC.
Oh, is it not?
It's not?
Yes, it is
It is?
on Steam.
Get out. No.
I'd sit up. While you're doing that,
On here.
I mean, there's definitely scope for it because as long as it doesn't like kind of start interfering into kind of the atmosphere of the game, because I think that was, to me, that's what I really took from the first game. I thought like it was by far its strongest one was that it's the oppressive atmosphere on the player. I think any kind of tweaks and changes that you sort of you do to the game needs to somehow try and maintain that, because I think like sometimes the combat was a bit wonky occasionally. Some of the weapons used were pretty uneven. Even some of the exploring I think was a little dicey here and there, but I always felt like the atmosphere and like the sound directions and kind of just instilling that that constant fear of like something could come at any point. I think that was like one of the key really big things I think that got Dead Space one that I experienced when I played it. Even so, I thought I was a bit lost in the second game personally.
I also
No, so yeah, I just think that's like you can mess around, have these little bits and pieces for opening these doors. You can tweak things, but I think you don't want to steer too far from what made the first game work, because then I think you start treading into very dicey territory.
I would like them to, and this is a big pet peeve of mine with a lot of series, if they do relaunch it as a franchise instead of just a one-off, keep the buttons consistent. I am so tired of seeing games go from one game to another in the same generation and
Thank
having
you.
totally different.
Man, NetherRealm's guilty of this.
Yeah, it was a pain in the ass having to like
Bungie was
rework the
also
control
guilty of
scheme.
that
That's
with
been
Halo games.
I
There's
played
only
MK11 after playing MKX for the first time in a while recently.
You got it again.
Yeah, but I get what she's saying. Like, I hate when they change a button layout in a franchise and you're so like conditioned to understanding the muscle memory of that game, then you go to the next one and it's like, what the fuck? Everything's so different.
That was me
Yeah.
with ironically with Dead Space as well, because I did play the first game on 360 years ago, but I didn't finish it. But like I think it was last year or the year before, I binge played the games again. I started from 2 because I was most familiar with that one. Then I went back to 3 because I played on PS3, but didn't finish it because my co-op partner and my PS3 died. I'm sorry. My co-op partner didn't want to finish the game.
That was
And my
morbid.
PS3 died. Yeah, sorry. Ignore
You
that
may have
sentiment.
wished death upon them. I understand.
yeah, they got terminated.
Well, more ways than one.
Oh
Wow,
I was
man.
kidding. But yeah.
That's on the record, by the way. And I hope they don't listen to this.
Yeah, they'd be fine.
They'll be fine. They've only been threatened with, murder.
Yeah, that'd be fun. But anywho, like, yeah, the controls from going from 2 to 3 and then back to 1 is just weird. Like, admittedly, I don't like how the layout is in Dead Space 1. It felt more natural in 2 and 3.
Should be
It
noted
felt-
that the views expressed
I can
there by
agree with
Sir Brandel are not representative of anyone else here at the Infinite Ammo Syndicate, and we have nothing to do with any of it.
It's
Uh-huh.
okay, Black Rock. It's fine.
Didn't Dead Space 1 borrow like some controls from Resident Evil 4?
Oh, it was inspired by Resident Evil 4 in general.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like the shooting mechanics. I mean,
development for Dead Space was very much I don't know where to find it, but there's a book where the devs actually gave their input and stuff, and they started by playing RE4 and wanted to make something different but similar as far as mechanics. And that's where we got Dead Space 1, which worked. It was fine.
very well.
Awesome.
And also, one upgrade I want to see for the remake: no loading screens on next-gen consoles.
That's gonna be a given.
There's one thing that they're kind of fixing, and then there's one thing I want fixed. The thing they're kind of working on is they said the 0G segments will be a lot more seamless and easier to do. It's going to be equivalent to Dead Space 2, which made it very streamlined. And I think that's a good idea because I hated them in the first game, and I especially hated them during the Planet Cracker asteroid sequence where you have to get on the rock and there's this metal beam constantly going back and forth that will kill you, and you have to dodge it or you die. And I did not like that part at all. They're fixing it, so that's good. The thing I want fixed now is the fact that every time you go into a small corridor, and I know they're doing this for effect, there is the time where you walk and sometimes the quick turn is not as fast as you like it to be and something's behind you and you get fucked. And I just wish that that was tweaked a little bit more so you could react faster to what's behind you, because in most instances in Dead Space 1, I found myself ambushed by people attacking me from behind in tight corridors where I can't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, the gaming is become a lot more sophisticated since 2012. And even as far as loading stuff, there's a lot of sophisticated little tricks and things you could do here and there that it still loads, but it kind of fools the player into not realizing something's going on or whatever else. I suspect a lot of these will be addressed. I've got pretty good confidence of that.
All right, so anyone else before we move on? Going once?
Nope.
Going twice?
Oh, well, actually, just one. Make Isaac talk, obviously.
Well, that's
Got him back,
later
man.
question.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, you said upgrade. That's an upgrade. Let it
Oh
happen.
my god.
Okay, but yeah, I got nothing. Who'll read number 5 off?
Well, there is one change that I've been thinking of. Even though I've only played the game for about 30 minutes, I feel like maybe they should tone down the whole telling you to cut the limbs off, because they straight up tell it to you like 5 times in 3 minutes, and one of them is like in the same room with no break.
To be fair, like I missed it kind of slightly at first, and
Yeah, I get
so
that they didn't want people to miss it, but like when they first show it to you, the place you get your gun literally has like a light over the gun with a wall that's telling you to cut the limbs.
Did anyone know that, a little fun fact, in that room where you get the gun and where they showed it in the remake trailer, the original director, Glen Schofield, his name is on the wall in both versions.
Really?
I
Yeah.
had no idea.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, if you look closely, you see his name, Schofield Projects.
Oh yeah, I'm just looking at it now. Yeah, I've just got it up on the thing. That's pretty cute.
Yeah, I like that. I like that they kept it too. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a nice little tribute, and I think again, something like this, you have to pay tribute to original. Yeah, you've got to remember where your origins came from. I think to ignore it would be pretty detrimental.
You know, I got a side question for this, since it's not here, but I guess we can do this. So there's a lot of love going around with Motive and the Callisto Protocol devs, the people who did Dead Space 1 originally. What do you guys think of like 2 space horrors finally coming out? Are you more excited for one over the other, or is it where if you think Dead Space fails, then you're perfectly fine trying out Callisto Protocol?
Well,
I'd
I starter, so
say-
it's more competition.
Yeah,
I'd
competition's
say
good.
we eating good today in
Yeah.
terms of space horror.
Yeah, the phrase is competition is good, very good. That means that
Competition creates creativity.
yes, exactly. So even if one fails or if one sees the other and is like, okay, now Death Space is coming back, we gotta put our forces into this project and make it the best it possibly can be.
I also find it a little bit ironic in the way the guys that made the first game is having their game being remade and released later down the line, probably around the same time frame as Callisto.
Yep. Callisto is next year though. I think that's like solid, whereas Death Space is like no release date yet, but we're assuming 2023, late 2022 maybe.
Yeah, give or take.
Early 2023.
Uh,
The remake.
it could happen. It could happen.
Hopefully, we don't get 5 years of development hell. Thank you, EA.
Oh,
I
please
will
no.
pray to you that we don't get that.
Please.
I'd be shocked. I don't know.
Don't jinx us now.
I'd be surprised.
They shouldn't because they already got an engine working in some models.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think the developer said they have a alpha build that essentially has been shown off to people. They have this like study test group where fans of the game can play it, and they're trying to do that. So they've been getting input from those people, and it is playable definitely. Probably not in the best state, but it exists.
Probably an alpha. I'd
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I guess we're done with that low side question, right?
Yeah. So we can move on to number 5.
Number 5 was it? Okay. Hey, Black Shadow, you want to read that one off?
As you bothered to get my name correct, sure. No. So the devs have stated that they are interlinking plot details from later Dead Space games. So this one, what plot elements could retroactively fit into the first title, in your opinion? Now, while this isn't particularly my area, I would say that it makes absolute full sense to do this. Why the hell wouldn't you?
I say if they can, then sure, because being at Dead Space 1 is the first one though, what could they logically fit in or at least reference from 2 and 3?
I mean, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, of course you don't know, but I'm speaking for people who actually play the games like at least past 2, which is
maybe
all that.
Yeah, I have, and maybe they could fit in the idea that Nicole's not real from some point in time before the ending, because that's the big shocker of the game, and you see her as this real person the whole time, but maybe there could be something that could tease that before that actually happens.
Because in the original series, not doing that kind of ticked off a lot of the fan base. I didn't care. I thought it was cool. It's like one of those Cortana type things. But having it continue to not even hint at it, and then all of a sudden flip the switch, kind of ticked off some people.
The only
I think-
other thing I can think
Go on.
of, I'm sorry, the only other thing I could think of is possibly talking about the unitologists and the idea that there are multiple markers. It's not just one as they thought it was. It's like multiple markers around the entire world.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
especially
authenticated,
since. Oh,
markers and whatnot.
I did not think about it though. They could do more references to the prequel movie. No, the crew that originally came in, but they maybe.
Oh yes, the
Downfall is called,
whatever
right?
it's
I
called.
forgot
Yeah,
about that.
Yeah. I think that'd be
And
a nice idea.
We need to watch that.
I think
Yeah.
not to undercut the question slightly, but I think it's as important as what you do. I think it's also important in the how you do it. And I think like generally I think subtlety tends to be the nice way to do it, because it's always the problem of that, you know, for people who appreciate, you know, have played the series, you know, can see these little bits and pieces and like think, oh, that's really cute. And I remember that, or I understand what this is going to. But you don't want to get to a point where you're just throwing out plot points, you know, that are really important for later games, and it's like right in your face. And the people who have not touched these series are like, excuse me, what the hell? And it just makes no complete sense. I think Dead Space probably got a little bit more leeway with this than say something like, I don't know, Resident Evil, which has its craziness obviously from time to time. But I
Yeah.
think it's just they just got to make sure they do it subtly enough. And that was one of the things as well with Dead Space 1. Like a lot of the kind of the plot kind of foreshadowing was all very, very subtle and very, very cute. I mean, obviously the whole the whole message in all the in the chapter titles, you know, which obviously was really, really cool and really awesome, which I think what they should do is redo that, but have a different message. I just think that'd be
No,
really
You brought up something true that unlike Resident Evil, Dead Space 1 really in isolation. Now think about it, you really don't have to really inject like future references into the first game, because the way it was built though, it was built to be really standalone-ish. It's, unlike say Resident Evil, like 1 for example, is clearly built to make a sequel after it. You know, I think if they're going to do something in relation though, they should do it based on around what's happened during the events of the game, first game, like the prequel movie, or maybe Extraction, something, you know, something along those lines.
yeah.
I was-
And again, it's just like you just don't want to start veering too far off, because again, you always have the problem if you start too veering a lot far away from the general plot of Dead Space 1. For the remake, you're gonna have that section of people who are gonna be offended because they're like, well, it's a remake of Dead Space 1. It should be Dead Space 1's plot. It should be this, and
Yeah.
it should be that. And why are you changing it? It worked back then. There's no need to. And then you just get into this whole fight, which of
Yeah.
course Capcom has been embroiled with for years. So
But
Speaking of people being offended, I can't wait for the people to freak out over how violent this game will be.
yes,
Okay.
it will be. I mean, I was shocked at the level of violence that Village had at some points. This could be a cut above, if you will.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Sorry about that.
I see that joke, you bastard, but I don't think they should tone down the violence or shy away at all, because I'm talking like
Absolutely.
Isaac used to get skewered. Yeah, it has his head ripped off. There's even more gruesome fatality-like deaths with the baby necromorphs, where I don't want to spoil it for Austin, but they were pretty like violent. So I think if you take that out of the game, that would actually diminish it, if anything.
I mean, it has to be violent. That was one of the big selling points. This
Especially
game
with
was
some of the with
ultra
some of
violent.
the. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. I'm carry on.
Especially with some of the gore that we've seen in more recent games on the hardware too, with the amount of detail they can get into. That is something that I'd like to see them just go full on out with.
Yeah, just make the necromorphs just absolute horrific monstrosities. You've got so much scope to add variants into them as well, so it's not just the same 2 or 3 types that look basically kind of the same. You know, you can have little deformations here and there, little bits and pieces, and just make the game like, I'm not saying make it into like a freaking snuff film or anything like that, but like there is a lot of scope here and a lot of rope to like have an absolute ton of blood in this.
Bruh.
And I
The
suspect
Necromorphs
that the
at
devil will
4K?
do that.
Okay.
Exactly. I mean, that's a crazy thought.
Yeah, the
The,
Necromorphs at 4K, those things are gonna be scary as fuck.
the spoiler creature I listed, I cannot wait to see that in 4K. That's gonna be awesome.
I like the
Fuck
idea
that,
of
nah.
them making it vary, especially like I played again through Resident Evil 3's remake just because I loved the fact that the zombies were more varied than they were in the original version as far as details and things like that, because there's so much you can do with these new graphics engines that are coming and how much you can switch it up and increase your polygons, things like that, and coding. I don't see why there would be any reason, as far as what was just said, why they wouldn't alternate the look and the feel of who you're fighting. That way it varies and it's not very repetitive, because that seems to be an issue nowadays, where if it's mildly repetitive in any sense, game reviewers shit all over it.
Yep.
That's a tr-
I always blame game journalists.
Yeah, we all do.
Everyone does.
All right. No, not thinking about it though. I forgot Dead Space has comments though, but I think we're done with this question. Let's just go ahead and move on. What question was it? 6? What was the read that one off? Mr. Cool, you want to read that one off?
All right. Do you think they should still keep Isaac silent or give him a speech in this game? Cite your reasoning.
Give him talk. Let him talk, like,
mean,
because
let him
consistency's
talk.
sake, let him talk. Because the
Yeah.
last 2 games let him talk. So why not the first one? You know,
I just,
I
would say let
understand.
him-
it could
Alright.
seem pretty jarring when people are asking Isaac if he's okay and he doesn't really say anything. So I feel like at least having him just respond to like people talking to him.
Have him be
Would-
like
No,
kind of mute, but at the same time, he has the ability to communicate. I know this sounds weird, but bear with me. So some
No, I
people, when they're mute, they still talk. They just don't do it consistently.
I feel like him not talking that much would still make sense because he doesn't want to alert
Yeah.
his presence to any of the necromorphs. So
Yeah, just very
I mean, well-
short and sharp responses. You know,
Yes.
obviously he's a bit, understandably concerned of his situation and doesn't particularly want to be giving his position away to all the shit that's around
you
him.
know what?
yeah,
I
he's-
would agree with that. I would agree with that if Dead Space 2 didn't happen, because he talks online in that game
Oh my God.
regardless
Yes,
if there's
yes,
necromorphs around.
It
I feel
is
like
crazy,
he's
like
only
especially when
talking
two.
so much in that game because at that point he already knows he can take them on.
Yeah, but like what I want to say here is like the director of the first game, he had a reason why he didn't want the character to talk, because he wanted to do something different from the norm at the time, because every protagonist in the horror talk, right? But considering how Dead Space 2, really humanized Isaac by giving him an actual character and whatnot, though, it will make no sense for him to not talk, considering that everyone in the mother loves Isaac's character since 2 and onward, because they gave him a voice. So like if they're gonna like scale back the talking, fine though, but still let him talk to the people that are there,
Yeah, I was gonna say let him talk minimally.
Yeah, I feel like that it would make sense for him to not talk that much because he's a bit scared or whatever, but it would also be important for him to be talking to the people that he ends up speaking with and such through things like the radio communication or when he meets them in person.
Yeah.
I remember playing the demo for the second game a long time ago. So
The
he
Xbox
talks there.
Marketplace.
Right. So when I beat the first game, when I got to the ending, I was like, "Oh yeah, he talked, didn't he?" In the second game.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
but-
feel like it almost like you feel like you're playing a different character despite being the same character.
yeah.
I mean, the reason why that they didn't let him talk was because he was an extension of the player, so you can put
Yeah.
yourself in the shoes.
Yeah, because I linked this like the dev interview for the original director Glen. He like go in full detail why he didn't do it though. I recommend you guys watch it whenever you guys get a chance. They're really good little interviews, whatever. But yeah, like I get the reason why though. But considering how popular Dead Space 2 is, because unanimously people will agree that 2 is probably the best one. Hell, it's probably people's first in the series, if you want to be honest.
My
So
brother's
like it
first,
makes
yeah.
sense. So it makes sense to like have Isaac talk just to keep that familiarity with the series.
I think what is also worth pointing out is I think the whole silent protagonist thing, I don't think has particularly aged well.
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh, no.
No, I mean if you think back and you think of like of very famous and well successful games that were had silent protagonists, you think of stuff like Half-Life, you think of maybe like Fable 2, you think of these sort of things, Grand Theft Autos, bits and pieces like that. But these are all games that have come out years ago. And like, it's just, there's so few examples of it even happening in the first place nowadays. And even less so that have been successful. It's just like, it was a phase of like about maybe like 10 years or maybe a little bit longer depending, and I think at the time it was great because it was also a way of kind of like hiding some limitations you had potentially of your software and what you could do with your games. But it's a phase, and it's a phase that's over. I don't think you want to have Isaac talking, giving monologues like it's Metal Gear Solid 2 or anything like that, but I think you have to kind of have him say something. It's just too out of place now, I think. If you were to go through a game and play, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, and your protagonist just doesn't say anything, it just sticks out as a sort of thumb nowadays. And I don't think you can get away with it anymore.
Yeah, especially gamers and game journalists like to point out where a character doesn't talk enough, then yeah, that would make that negative for the game, which, so like I think they can't fly with that anymore. You're right.
The gimmick with some protagonists is that they usually have the supporting cast talk around the main character.
Yes.
I think the only place it really works being a silent protagonist anymore is when you have games like shooters or old school style arcade games that are coming out now with the whole retro style flourishing, or RPGs like Octopath Traveler, where you have those speech bubbles popping up constantly. That's the only time a silent protagonist really works anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to bring up JRPGs as well.
I mean, to a technicality though, they're still talking, just not with a voice. Unlike Isaac, who doesn't say anything, even with speech bubble, So that's kind of different, but similar in nature. I get it.
I think.
But anything else we gotta add, Ren? You got anything else?
Yeah. I think that it will probably be a wasted opportunity. I mean, Gunnar Wright really loves the series, and he loved it since Dead Space 2 and 3, and he really likes this character. So, I mean, you can still have him interact with the characters that call him on the communicator. Like I feel so terrible for saying this, but I only know him by the way he looks. But there was the captain that was the black ball guy, and I think the other communicator that was the female. You can still have them interact and sort of relay information between each other without ruining the scene. And I think it would perfectly make sense. Everything's going haywire. No one knows what the fuck is going on. Everything's going to shit. Just have that conveyed in the story, and I think that would be fine.
The one thing I am a little worried about is that, further into 6 months down the line, whenever else, when I think the way there'll be another real trailer out with a bit more information, and then at probably like the very end, Isaac's going to utter like 2 words, and that's it. And social media, being the knee-jerk society that it is just going to be, hashtag cancel EA, hashtag boycott Dead Space, because there's going to be some people that are going to be absolutely furious. It's like, he spoke. This is outrageous. This cannot be allowed to happen. You've ruined my game. I'm like, come on. It's coming. Like, you can't tell me that it's not coming.
Well,
since with Mass Effect Legendary Edition, then it'll probably happen here.
Well, I mean, that could leeway into the article that Eli posted saying that they will definitely cut some stuff that did not work. What those things are is not really detailed, I think.
We have no idea what they are yet.
Yeah, but I don't know. I can't think of stuff that really just didn't work.
No, yeah. I don't. There's some things that are a little dicey, and as we mentioned about like the way the some of the zero-G stuff was implemented was kind of clunky at times, although still it was still pretty decent. But it's just the case that it's basically giving them license to update things they see fit. Maybe they'll update the upgrade system. Maybe they'll just renovate a few bits and pieces. Just make things playable. It's just giving themselves a bit of rope to work with. That's all it basically is.
Someone in the comment section. Go ahead.
Real quick though, the word cut is honestly really broad because it can literally mean anything from story elements to minor gameplay elements to structure to something.
Not using the original arrangement of the soundtrack, which has happened in many remakes.
Yep.
Yeah, so like realistically, the word cut can literally mean anything until we see the final product. We will know what they cut and didn't cut.
Okay, so I'm gonna mention two things real quick, and then we can move on. Shadow mentioned that people are knee jerking about it, and it's true considering what you said. The word cut is broad. And then there are people in the comment section also mentioning that they could cut out the bad asteroid shooting segments where Isaac sits in a chair, shoots asteroids, and doesn't die. Now, I will admit that's terrible. I don't want to see those again, because every single time the hit meter would hit the asteroid and the rock would deplete your meter, I didn't find these scary. I didn't find these fun. They were just annoying. They could cut that out of the game and I wouldn't miss them at all.
Also, walking to the turret thing was tedious as fuck as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's the way. You have to remember, this is the first game of its series. Like, not everything is going to work. You know, it's the same with everything. Yeah. You throw a load of stuff at the wall, and some things just aren't gonna.
I mean,
Yeah,
other than the asteroid section, I think the game is flawless.
Yeah, will anyone miss
I wouldn't go
those
that
if they're cut?
No, it's not flawless. No.
Yeah, it's definitely not flawless. Nothing is flawless.
Yeah, will anyone miss those if they cut out the asteroid shooting segments?
Hell no.
I
In
would
fact,
watch
you know
my little
something?
brother get mad.
You know something though? This is actually in Dead Space 2. There's one segment they could cut. Is that free fall segment where the meters come in and hit you. I think they have them in 3 as well though, but in particular 2, since people want a remake of that one, they could cut that one out if they get a remake of 2.
I remember
Also-
fucking dying in that part.
Yeah, same here. Luckily, that was not my impossible run. Otherwise, I've been pissed.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ.
But anyway, Shadow, you're a freaking prophet, dude. Because it only took freaking a couple scrolls, and I found that one.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Look at the comment
exactly.
section. Holy shit.
Yeah, it is the way it is, unfortunately. But I mean, like, let the devs have a bit of creative license with this one. I don't think Dead Space. It doesn't strike me as a series that says as beholden to its history as some others sort of in its field. And I think you could probably get away with a bit of messing around with bits and pieces here and there. And to be honest, I think that's great for people who have played the original game, because I reckon it will keep them on their toes. And that's exactly what Dead Space is all about, keeping the player unsettled, not sure what's going to happen next. And if you know what's coming, that's kind of most of the fun lost.
It's the best way to do horror. Just keep the player unsettled.
Yeah, exactly. And to quote an example that we talked about recently, Resident Evil Remake back in 2004 did a pretty good job.
I think I know a lot of people complained, speaking of Resident Evil, when 3 came out about cutting a lot of the longer segments out. But I honestly felt like I love the original of 3. Don't get me wrong. But some of those walking down
Cut out
Wait, what?
again.
Walking
Okay.
down what?
Can you hear us?
walking down the streets and stuff just taking forever, those don't need to drag on. Changes to gameplay and how long the story is and stuff isn't always a negative thing. So if they do cut that stupid asteroid thing, I am A-okay with it. I just get a
For well.
Yep, I posted it in our chat. I'm like, who cares for these? Who really cares for these asteroid shooting segments? And do they add anything to the game other than just a ridiculous little mini game and that's it? People don't miss this. If it's cut, I would be fine with it. When we talk about, go ahead.
No,
Oh.
I was gonna say that if they do cut off the asteroid segments, they're gonna have to like cut that part of the story where that Ishimura is getting hit by an asteroid field.
Maybe
I
it could
reckon
be a
they'll have
cutscene.
something.
Cutscene.
I reckon they have something, but maybe something just completely different. You know, you could do anything. You could have him maybe like in a more centralized area, kind of like, doing, like he's got like a more automated defense system, and he's kind of like centrally, kind of like doing his mechanical stuff, like making sure like shifting power between different turrets to kind of defend on different sides. There's a lot of things you could do. Like you're remaking the game. You've got total freedom.
I said you could make it better either by just simply increasing the story tension with the cutscene, or trying to do it the way you suggested, where it's not as tedious as it originally was. It's just scaled back. I mean, I think they did a change like this in Resident Evil 1 Remake with the library, because once again, you're not doing this crazy library puzzle or wasting time in there. You're fighting a giant boss and they replaced that. So maybe you could fix things around to make it more either tedious or scary in a good way instead of a bad way where it's like you're shooting these asteroids and it's kind of boring, to be honest.
Yeah, it didn't age. It wasn't great at the time, and it is aged hideously. I'm positive they've changed something about it. What exactly, I don't know, but I think they'll reassess, look at this, and they'll just think it wasn't great. I'm sure we can do better.
Like,
and I'm sure we will.
Like the sharks in Remake 1, they're a puzzle boss now, as opposed to being like in a small pond and you drain the water and they die. It's more tension that way. But can we move on to the final question, or anyone have any lingering thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm fairly happy.
Okay.
Yeah, social media sucks. Let's move on.
Okay, so I'll read off the final one and then we will migrate over and see if guests join us. So let's end this final question on DLC suits. Do you think they should be... How do you think they should be handled in the remake, and which rig do you want to see in this one?
Honestly, just bring them all in. Like, I don't need to be picky about it. But if
It
I had
won't
to
work
pick
like that, sadly, but...
No, look, if I had to pick something that should make it in, though, I want them to actually take the suits from the later games and bring them in, because the suits themselves aren't canon anyway. So you could do whatever you want with the suits. Like, you could have Dead Space 3 version, you get the suits from 2, or etc. Like, I'd be happy with that.
Don't make them $20 to $30 a piece. I swear, if they do one of those things, I'm gonna lose my crap. Make them like Dead or Alive, where they're like $2 to $3 per suit, and make a whole bunch of the options. Don't torment us.
No, again, unfortunately, I would say that I actually reckon like bringing in not all the suits, but maybe some of the sort of the more noble suits from like later games and having them in as like additional stuff to buy. I think that's actually a really nice idea. Again, it's that kind of subtle, acknowledgement of like, with the series and other bits and pieces. Obviously, it makes no complete sense that he has them, but who honestly cares? Like, it's a bit of fan service, basically, in the day.
Question: Didn't they have a Dragon Age armor in Dead Space? Because I know Mass Effect had one.
I don't know. That'd be cool.
Because I remember there was a crossover suit, though, but I might be mistaken.
I remember there was a Dragon Age armor in Mass Effect. And I think
there was Dragon Age armor, Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that would be nice to do like a reference from another series. Just bring in a like a Dragon Age armor base skin for the rig.
Because Dragon Age has also been dead for a while too.
They're probably more likely to make another Mass Effect related one because of Legendary Edition.
Yeah, I think that there could be a couple of little tie-ins, sort of suits, bits, pieces. Yeah, I could see that.
Watch it be a pre-order bonus.
I mean,
there would be pre-order bonuses.
Yeah, there's always.
I mean, Blood Dragon armor was as well.
Yeah, it was.
The GameStop employees stealing the codes out of the games again for pre-order.
I think someone did that for my Halo Reach copy.
I can make that joke. I used to work at GameStop, and that was one of my pet peeves to see my coworkers do. Especially during that one Square Enix game, I can't remember what it's called. They opened, Deus Ex, one of them. There was a pre-order bonus, and they had all the employees open the games and take the pre-order codes out of them, because Square Enix, even on the copies that weren't pre-ordered, put in the codes if you bought it on first day. And I thought that was just the lowest of the low.
That is pretty. That's pretty bad.
Hey, how's that legal? What the fuck?
Yeah, there's some exceptionally questionable practices going on there. Yeah.
At least he didn't pronounce it as Deus Ex.
Taking that Deus Ex, man. That's what's up.
Yeah, Deus Ex. Best title.
Every time Renegade disappears for a couple minutes, he's going to take a Deus Ex.
Shut up.
Deus Ex Machina.
Well, why do you think he has issues right next to his computer?
No. What are you talking about?
Renegade get clowned on again. My favorite.
Shut up.
You know.
But yeah, do you guys have any further questions on this, or anything else you want to bring up before we do guests?
No, I think we're good, and there might be a couple bits we've missed, and I'm sure they'll be brought up in a moment.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do our outros and move on to the guests. So if nothing else. All right, let's start from the bottom. Renegade, outro yourself.
Shut up. So you can find me on Twitter at RenOperative_. You can find me on YouTube at Renegade Operative. I will be working on the Fear Street trilogy for review and other things as well in the future, and uploading this podcast. This was fun, and if we find out any more information, gameplay, news on the Dead Space remake, and especially up until launch, we will be talking about it and comparing it to the original and see how we feel about it from there. So plenty more Death Spaces coming up. Do not worry.
Hey, all right, and Eli, outro yourself.
You can find me on Twitter at Gamma Alias, and I'm probably gonna go back to my PS5 and play Judgment.
Nice. Bum.
Nice.
Mr. Cool, Austin, outro yourself.
You can also find me on Twitter via Red Barrel is God, and I'm also on my channel, which I'm currently doing my blind playthrough of Dead Space 1.
Nice. Eli, your interference. Shadow Black, outro yourself.
You can find me on YouTube and Twitter, apparently, Black Shadow 993. Also on Twitter as well, Black_Shadow_993, because some scumbag beat me to it, which it frustrates me to this day.
All right, and Ola Love, outro yourself, madam.
Okay, you can find me on Twitter. I actually changed a lot of my stuff recently to make it more universal so far.
Nice.
Oh, she's cut out on her own outro.
I'm cutting out.
Yeah, you can get that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're still
Okay.
there.
Let's try this again.
Well,
So,
I mean, hey, that's a good thing, isn't it? You need to cut your enemies up in Dead Space.
Damn.
You can find me on both Twitch and Twitter at Aaliyah_love. Love being without the E, of course. And Aaliyah being ALLIA because my mom can't spell it normal. And then I am also on YouTube as Crystal Blues. I've been mainly uploading music there though lately, not anything video game related. And yeah, you can watch me and Renegade have random interactions on Twitter about stupid shit.
Yes, exactly.
Shots
Yeah.
were fired right there.
Yeah, Ren is stupid. Yeah.
You're stupid. You're stupid, sir.
He's not stupid. He's just late to the party on a lot of.
He just misjudged. Okay, I understand. Okay, and last but not least, you can find me on Twitter at Immortal Brando. I just retweet stuff or reply to stuff. Nothing special. I'm just there. So follow me if you dare. And yeah, with that, thank you for joining us. But now we're gonna move over to our guest caller segment. So we'll be back shortly.
Alrighty, we're gonna port over to the guest lounge. Hopefully this goes well.
By the way, you guys don't have to stay here if you don't want to, because the main part is done. We're just getting other bums in here.
Yeah. All right, here we go. I'm porting over. Let's see. Let me start the stage. Oh my god. What am I doing making this public? Oh my god. All right, Dead Space Remake discussion. Here we go. Bear with me, people. I feel naked that everyone can see us. I feel very naked.
There we go.
It's a lot of nudity here. Let me invite Brendan to speak. Mr. Austin, and there we go.
Randall, not just wow. I thought you just.
I think I threw him in the trash. Hold on, let me see if I can save him.
Oh.
There you go.
It's a weird concept.
Fredo.
Okay, and this is public, so the whole world can see us swing our wang and do all this crazy stuff. So hello.
All right, should we do one at a time? That way, no, just get come
so
in
you
and
gotta do it.
let them go.
You might need to ping them to let them know that we're.
We're.
I'm
not
gonna
bummed on that.
I'm gonna see if Dom comes in. Hold on. Tag them all.
Wait a second.
Cryo and who was AK Austin, I believe. Yep. You can come in now.
I was muted. Dang it. I made a joke. A really bad joke.
Oh, what's so bad about it?
I said, Renegade, please don't wing your wing in the public chat. No one wants to see that.
Yeah.
I ain't do nothing yet.
Yet.
Yeah.
That's what all degenerates say.
Yeah, he's gonna go play his visual novels later and whack onto that.
Oh, I am not a weeb. Wait a minute.
Oh, that's a lie, and you
You
know
ain't
it.
gotta be a
Yeah,
weeb to watch
you know
visual
what?
novels.
Renegade, you always say you want to be black in these, man. Like, come on, you know.
I don't know about that, sir.
In Ren's defense, he probably wants to continue the Redfield bloodline.
No, you want to continue the wheat bloodline, man.
Oh, there's Cryo. Well, let's drag him in.
All right, all right.
He's not a
Let me know
weeb. He's just a
Mi-
degenerate.
Misunderstood.
All right, Cryo, welcome to the freaking. Welcome
Whoa.
to the Madhouse, sir.
Hello,
Yeah.
neighbor.
Hi there, neighbor.
Yo.
Hi.
I hear dogs and I hear the
Yo,
wilderness.
where are you, dude? Hold on.
Are you at the club or something?
Hold on.
Yeah, you got a lot of background noise, Chief.
I know. I can't help it. I'm headed to the bathroom.
Get the fuck out.
This is my store. Get out. Well, this
He's
is
sitting
more.
there eating
Yeah.
dinner and we interrupted him.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Oh, now you
Cryo.
have an echo. Goddamn. Okay.
It's fine.
Because of the room.
It's fine.
I'll turn him down a little bit. So,
We
Cryo,
could probably just have him. He's probably in the Ishimura right now.
you know that sounds accurate. Actually, are you in Ishimura, Cryo?
Maybe.
All right, so Dead Space, the remake, and your thoughts on it. Talk to us.
Honestly, it looks pretty interesting.
Have you played the previous Dead Space games? Any experience on that? What do you want them to possibly update or change?
Unfortunately, I haven't played the original games, but I am planning on doing it.
We got another baby in here, just like Mr. Austin.
Well,
We're both babies.
Before I get the new game, I'm definitely going to buy the original.
We
No.
we talked about this on air.
I think
Yeah.
Nick actually gifted me all 3 Dead Space games.
Yeah, I don't see how people think this is a bad thing because it gets new people on board to play these games in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. I was
Since
going to quickly mention that.
Exactly.
Especially since it's been forgotten for years now. Like a lot of people even forget that 3 came out. So
I mean,
That's
one
more
is over a
convenient than
decade
anything
old,
else,
too. So,
but yeah, no, definitely Cry. So like as someone obviously that's not ever touched the series, like how do you kind of feel about like the fact that devs are bringing this back, and it's been obviously several years since anything's ever happened to the series. Like, do you like the idea of it? Do you think it's necessary?
Considering that Dead Space is one of EA's most popular titles, it's about damn time that they actually brought it back. I mean, that's how I truly feel on the subject. I mean, it took them all these years just to bring it back.
Well,
Like,
EA was swiftly sucking on the Star Wars penis, and they were dealing with that for like a couple of years.
They found
yeah, and then they
Joe.
dropped that.
yeah, for over what, like 6-7 years, they only released 3 Star Wars based games.
Yeah,
There was a total of like 13 in development too. Yeah, I get where you're frustrated with that. That was a dumb decision.
They were canceled, and those were canceled too.
Did EA force choke on the dick?
Oh,
Why are we considering this line of questioning?
I'm sorry, I'm dead.
It's EA.
I'm disappointed.
I'm saving that as a highlight for sure. But you know what, man, put in something cool like maybe a lightsaber or something. They have the ability to do that if they wanted to, like an in-game weapon.
that would be broken as shit, dude.
Yeah.
What do you want? What do you want the remake to be? Do you want it to kind of be a bit more like traditional to its roots, just kind of like a revamp of the original, or do you want it to be something completely different?
Now, I wanted to have the same atmosphere as the original game. I wanted to have that same feel. Because if they try to do their own thing with it, in my honest opinion, whenever companies make reboots or remakes, they end up forgetting what made the series what it was. They forget.
Man, that sounds familiar.
And as a result, the game ends up not doing so well, but it does well in some people's eyes. It needs to be in the same way as it was back then. With the atmosphere of it, I've heard people talk about Dead Space saying that it really made you feel, what's the word, claustrophobic in some parts of the game. It needs that. It needs that element of horror, and basically it needs what the original series had, which was atmospheric, horror. Not like some of these games nowadays where they end up making it, rebooting it, and it.
Oh, you cut out. Let me in the meantime, while we're doing this,
To be fair, it's nice. It's personally, it's nice to hear that even someone who's not very experienced with the game at all, that obviously doesn't know very much series, even they are suggesting that should try and keep the core kind of feel of Dead Space intact, which is, I think, very illuminating on where Dead Space sort of resides, like an ethos, even to people who've got virtually no experience with the series.
There we go. I invited Dom to talk.
Hi, how's it going?
Oh, hi, Dom.
Howdy-o.
I'm assuming we're not live yet, right?
No, we're live. No, it's your turn to talk. It's when Cryo's
this is the guest segment, so we're just sort of hanging out talking about Dead Space.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm like super stoked about this remake. Granted, I'm skeptical too because, EA, obviously, and they have a very notorious track record when it comes to their shutting down of IPs or just even handling of IPs.
You could be doing a lot worse at the moment.
They definitely
they could be. Yeah, that is true. So, in terms of just how this remake is going to turn out, I'm really just skeptical to see if they're intending on having just kind of nods to the original and completely doing their own thing, or having things for the most part be one for one, but kind of like the Resident Evil remake, at least the original Resident Evil remake, where they build upon what was established and then adding on new things. I know there was a recent interview apparently where what was it? It was like some of the stuff from the later games is going to be introduced into this new game, but in small snippets of lore, but I don't know where they plan on taking that.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier that while people are skeptical, I'm more cautiously optimistic because, when EA decides to let these studios do what they want, and we have examples like Jedi Fallen Order, A Way Out, and stuff like that, it tends to go really well. When there's interference and they want to shoehorn in multiplayer, co-op, and shit like that, it doesn't really go so well. But at least they are taking steps forward. I can't hold someone's feet to the flames forever if they actually decide to give us shit that we actually want or shit that we asked for years. That's kind of what people want. So, but they want it done right, and I can see that sentiment as well. So they said they're working closely with the fans and the original creators and trying to get input, and that there is going to be cuts, but mostly is going to be stuff that didn't work. And if we are being frank, we talked about this earlier, the asteroid shooting segment was boring.
Oh yeah, so that could go. I didn't like that. And I played through Dead Space recently. Dead Space 1 last year, I think it was. I played it on hard, and going through that segment is just such a pain in the ass because there's more asteroids that you have to deal with, and the damage you take in that segment becomes worse. So I don't mind cuts as long as it makes sense in terms of the stuff that people didn't genuinely like, in favor of things that would be new and different and would be favorable.
Yep.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I mentioned on the cast itself, though, like the word "cut" is really broad. Because it's no definitive thing. We don't know what they're going to cut until the final product is out.
Yeah.
So you see people even in the little comment section on Twitter saying like it's dead on arrival because they're cutting something. Like we don't know what it is yet, so stop your whining and wait.
Cut has such a negative connotation to it as well. Is the problem?
Yeah, and I think like
that
really
kind of-
quick too. I think kind of that since we have the recent like RE remakes, for example, like those had a lot of stuff cut, and I think people are kind of weary in that regard. But at the same time, it's kind of playing devil's advocate. There are some things that would be okay to get cut if in the overall grand scheme of things it makes sense, and it gets replaced with something that could ultimately be better.
Yeah, you're right. Like Resident Evil 3, unfortunately, is like the worst example of doing cuts and alterations for the worst and sometimes better, in contrast to like 1 and 2 remake. That's unfortunately until we get like a worse remake or that's gonna be the stigma, the face of the example of bad cut. So I get it though, but at the same time, though, you can't say it's gonna be dead on arrival until it happens.
Yeah. I am kind of curious to know what you guys think of like, a lot of people wanted a Dead Space 4, for example, right? So I am kind of curious to know, like, did you guys want a Dead Space 4 over a Dead Space remake, or you okay just getting something new Dead Space related?
Also discussed that on the cast as well. I think most of us unanimously agree that it's probably for the best to do a remake first to get the feet wet with the series, considering technically it's a new studio. Now, granted, it's still gonna have some old people, maybe, but it's still a new studio, so they need to get their feet wet with the series before they could do a full-on sequel. Because God forbid, like the game could suck, right? And then they could ruin Dead Space forever if it was a sequel versus a remake. Okay, it's a remake. The original still exists. You don't have to play it. Move on from there, and then you try the best next time with the sequel.
To be fair, in the eyes of some, the moment that Isaac Clarke ever decides to utter a word, the series will be dead in their eyes. So,
see, so I kind of want to make a quick point before I let James go.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like Dead Space making Isaac Clarke for this remake, I actually want that. I really was not a fan of him not talking in 1, because there's like a bunch of crazy fucked up shit that happens in.
Not to mention, there's
in the
also
first game.
moments where people will be talking to Isaac and asking if he's okay, and he doesn't even know.
Yeah, and I'm hoping too, like, because we don't know if there's gonna be like new suits that you could wear and stuff like that. If you played the game on PC, you only had the military suit, which you had to get through unlocks. But what is it? The console version had all the
console had
cool
it, right?
DLC. The console version had all the cool like DLC suits, and I'd like to see like Isaac kind of like react to like, oh, cool, like this should be like a better upgrade, or kind of make some remarks and here and there, because I really liked that Isaac had a personality in 2 and 3,
especially 2. He's just fucking angry at everything.
Yeah, when he's just doing the fucking curve stomp, just fucking die.
That was the best new thing ever.
Yeah, it was. So, anyways, that was my piece.
Appreciate it.
Go ahead and give yourself an outro, then you can Jet.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter, YouTube, very rare occasions Twitch, on as biodevil_dom. I'm kind of busy at the moment with IRL stuff, so I'm not going to be doing content for a while, but whenever I do content, you could find me in those places, or you could just follow me on Twitter, where I'm currently just active for the most part. Otherwise, it's been fun joining in and giving my 2 cents on this.
I appreciate it,
man. Yep. Thank you for coming. All right.
Get out,
fuck out.
Now is James's turn.
All right, James, my dead co-op partner. How you doing?
I'm not dead yet, but I might be in space.
I hate to threaten violence and or murder, so we have that. We have contact.
I'm doing all right. I did not think the rumor would be true, but here we are. I think Ren already knows I'm a little antsy because it's EA, but I hope they don't mess it up. I want it to be. I really want it to be good.
Everyone has said that, and I sort of just gave the same answer. You could at least be Activision or Ubisoft at this point.
Oh yeah, they're somehow that's an achievement that they're worse than EA.
Yeah, I'm honestly amazed that that was even possible.
James, how do you feel about the notion of them supposedly like cutting content? How do you feel about that? They're gonna cut things that don't work.
Has that been like stated, or is that just a guess?
That's actually confirmed.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Vaguely
Okay, that's a little weird.
but confirmed, yes.
Yeah.
There's no
I mean,
details or anything.
if it's stuff like the stupid asteroid minigame, that can go.
I love how every single person has bought
Everyone hates it.
Everyone said it on his freaking cast.
Listen,
They-
I love Dead
Jesus.
Space 1 as much as I love almost as much as I love 2. 2 is my favorite, but some of the mini games are ass. I'm sorry. We didn't need them. You could have made a cutscene out of that and called it a day.
Yes, that's the same thing I said.
Yeah. There's definitely ways you could do it.
How do you feel about them making Isaac talk or not? You agree or disagree?
Absolutely agree. I think he was a much more memorable character for the shit he went through and that he actually reacts to things. Because the game tries to be semi-realistic with stuff, right? Like the kinetic energy and how you fire stuff back at them and all the mechanics. It's kind of out of place, and I've always said this since the first game came out, that it's really weird that Isaac has nothing to say besides grunting and yelling. It's just odd. It doesn't fit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. I say the same thing on the main segment. Like, reason why I want him to talk in one because he's just that much more of a character. He has character, and considering the shit he goes through in the first game, though, I want to hear reactions from him.
Yeah, it's not. Nobody in real life who went through that much shit's just going to be silent and have nothing to say about all the awful things they see.
What do you think about the story though for this remake? Do you think they should be kind of keeping it fairly faithful to the original? Should they maybe try and get some bits and pieces in that then come up later on in the series? Should they just completely redo stuff? What do you think?
I'm mixed on that. I think they should follow the general same like major story beats since it's supposed to be like Resident Evil 2 remake style, which did the same thing. If they want to add things that would allude to Dead Space 2 and 3, I'm fine with that.
Did we talk about like any of the weapons and any updates you guys want to see there or not?
Actually, no, we did not talk about the weepons. And to be quite frank, though, weapons definitely do need a really good rebalance because some are just obviously better than the others. The
plasma cutters, plasma cutters like the Master Race gun.
Yeah, and
especially in the first game.
Trash.
Like, that was a weird thing with the
rifle versus the Chad plasma cutter.
Yeah,
right.
The friggin' plasma rifle was only good like in 2 and 3, and for some reason in 1 it was just terrible, even though it's an assault rifle.
It's the worst gun in the game by far, and I fucking hate it.
It's so weird. It was once you play 2, it's really good.
Yeah, you'd think that something military grade would be really good.
Yeah, right. The Chad engineering weapon that's for the freaking mining and shit, but the freaking military weapons are dog shit.
The non-combat gun is better somehow.
Fix the stomp, goddammit, it sucks in Dead Space 1.
I think they should just do 2 and I think 3 is the same, right? 3 is the same as 2 stomp, just continuous. Just do that. That's much more proven to work. Also, the whole thing with him talking as a side thing kind of reminds me of, let's like a side thing real quick. It kind of reminds me of Jack and Daxter. Both in the second entry of those games, all of a sudden Jack talks and he has much more of a character. So that's why I'm doing the comparison, because Isaac had much more of a character when 2 came around.
Yeah, that's a good example. It's literally like probably one of the best ones I could think of. Cause I can't think of other games that had that.
Jack was even worse off because he didn't even utter anything. Like he had battle grunts and that was it. So it's like that's another thing where like they just made him better. So I think it works the same in tandem for Isaac.
Also, anyone notice Derek was here and he's listening?
Yeah, he's listening. Yeah.
He wants to
remember,
talk?
it's public, remember? So anyone can jump in.
He's always listening.
Listen, they want it live.
Yeah, it is live, so we're doing it live.
Fuck it.
Oh, somebody else joined in. You guys wanna come in and give a piece on the remake?
Yeah, if anyone wants to talk, just let us know.
Oh, speaking of James, are you done? Because press for time. Gotta get somebody else in if they want to talk.
I might do like one more question, I guess.
What else you want to talk about?
I'm reading the doc right now. Final end of the DLC suits. How do you think they should be handled in the remake? Which rig do you want to see in this one? I definitely want some of the console ones were really good. Like the Scorpion suit was cool.
I did mention that they should bring in suits from the some of the suits from the later games, like maybe a Dead Space 3 version of the main rig suit, whatever, because the suits themselves technically aren't canon, just the main one. So
you know what'd be cool, because I like this legacy stuff. They could do a default costume for Dead Space 2 and 3, so you could see like all the defaults from the previous games. It's like a a legacy type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. As I mentioned, like you don't want to be ignoring the roots of the series, but you don't want to throw it in people's faces. Have these cute little references here and there. And don't if you want to charge people a couple of bucks to do it, then what the hell? Because people will buy it because some of those suits are really cool.
That's how it went in the original. You had to buy all the console suits, especially.
All right. If you're finished, my man, go ahead and give yourself an outro.
This is Devil Hunter James. You can find me on Twitter at DevHunterJames. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Take care of yourself, man.
Peace.
Hey, Ren, can you bring in Derek?
Sure, no problem. I just invited him. There we go.
Oh, Derek, my man.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hello.
Well, I'm a first time caller, long time listener. How are you guys doing?
Oh my god.
Pretty good. It's not anywhere near as warm as it has been previously, but we're good.
So Derek,
so what y'all talking about? You talking about Dead Space?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Any opinions on Dead Space, sir?
Oh, I like Dead Space. With the necromorphs and you stopping things, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I gotta make a counter argument about the whole Isaac talking thing. I don't like it.
Why do you don't like it?
Look, I'm the kind of guy who lives in the life of silence. Okay, I like my silent protagonists, and I just generate my voice into them. And so, Isaac in first one is my ultimate one because I can say whatever the fuck I want as a reaction as Isaac.
I mean, don't gamers do that anyways?
No, if the character's talking, he already has a personality. I can project my personality into first Isaac. That's what I'm saying.
Oh my god. Stop laughing.
I don't know why it's funny. I'm just saying my preference for a game. As a gamer, I like to project myself onto a character when I'm playing the game to fully immerse in the universe. And I would have to say that like 2 and 3, I'm like, it was all good until he started speaking when he was in that doctor chair before he got almost got like head blasted by a necromorph doctor dude. I just kind of cut it off.
All right, what would you suggest for them to change if you made any changes to the remake?
All right. Let me sit down. If I was sitting down in a meeting room with EA, right? I'll be like this. All right, guys. You see that volume button right there? Just turn it all the way down. All right. Just turn it down. I just want you don't have to worry. You know what? Just give me like just give me this like static. Just give me this white noise. Just that's all I need. And you know what? I love the co-op play in 3 so much. They should add it but like 4 players. Because let's just make it a fucking role play. Let's just have all the personalities in it. Let's do that.
Be fair, it worked for System Shock, so
yeah, you see, he's on the same page. Like, come on, let's just sit down and just let it roll. Maybe use the Frostbite engine on it to revive an old dead zombie. That in my case it was just beautiful. Just put that shit right on there, like icing on a cake.
Yeah, those Dead Space purists, they're about to rip our balls off like meatballs off a plate. So Rip this podcast.
Pretty much.
Hey, Derek, my man, if you got nothing else to say, you want to give your outro?
Okay, so legit though, I'm actually excited for the remake. One was actually really good. I played a little bit of 2 and I really enjoyed that. Giving Isaac a definite personality really did help out the story a bit. The first one was actually pretty good though as far as a narrative, but Isaac as a for characterization really did better starting in 2. I mean, without the subtle hints that 1 gave, of course, and which that kind of helped as well with the earlier way of storytelling too.
Go on. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
I'm gonna say 3, never want to touch again. Hopefully they don't repeat the same mistake for the remake. Please, no.
That's what we're hoping.
And my expectations are always low.
I was gonna ask, like, do you think they should mess about a lot with Dead Space Monsters remake, or should they try and keep it pretty traditional to what it was?
I'm all for experimenting. Nothing wrong stepping out of the comfort levels. I mean, it worked for Resident Evil. I mean, it worked for other franchises. Why not Dead Space? I mean, they tried doing it with 3, but maybe they should do another experimentation with it though.
Yeah, it did. Although I would say Resident Evil probably could sell itself a bit more on the action, whereas Dead Space 1 was all about atmosphere and kind of story, which is a lot harder to mess about with without destroying it. I would suggest.
Yeah, I mean, it worked for a while in Silent Hill. It should work a little bit, depending on how it was written in for Dead Space Remake.
All right, that's an interesting take. I appreciate that. Nothing else you got to add, Derek, or anything else you want to bring up?
Let's see. No, that's it. Dead Space 3 best game ever. Go buy it now on PS3.
No, ironically, it is my favorite Dead Space game, but for not the reasons you think, though. But yeah,
better left unsaid, I reckon, for public consumption.
No, I already said it on our discussion podcast, months back. So if you want to catch my opinion on that, go watch that. Shameless plug. But thank you, Dave, for joining us. You want to give your outro and plug your socials or whatever?
Yeah. DA Crowley VA on Twitter, DA Crowley on YouTube, and the Crawl Space on Twitch. But whatever, just have fun listening. Bye.
Fair enough, man.
Bye. Thank you.
I can't protest to knowing this Mr. Derek particularly well, but
he's in the other server.
Yeah, I gathered that. I think I would probably pay like about $30 to see him in an EA meeting.
Fuck.
Hey, Derek, man, you're still listening, Someone would pay you to enter an EA meeting.
I know.
I paid 40.
See, there you go. You got some real tough customers here that wants to pay money to see EA like throw this guy out the window.
40. Like, I don't think I can do that.
All right. Hey, Ren, can you bring in, I guess, Spartan, right?
Sure, no problem. I invited him to speak, and there you go. In the meantime, I want to ask you a question, Brandon. Do you think they should do more side games like Extraction? Because I have that game on PS3, but I never played it.
Yes, they should actually, because the side games are hit and miss admittedly though, but it does add in lore to the series. Because there's one on I think it was BlackBerry application years ago, literally just called Dead Space, where it stars a female character that ties into Dead Space 2. Then of course you have the on Rails game, and you have the little puzzle game, which unfortunately kind of sucks. But yeah, I'm all for doing more spin-offs because hell, I would love to have a Carver game just to himself before the events of Dead Space 3, or maybe have one of Lily that takes place after 2, because I think it's a good time skip between 2 and 3. Not Lily, Ellie.
Kind of an untapped little part of the series, isn't it? Especially now that the series has expanded way beyond the realms of what it had started with. There's tons of opportunities to have little bits and pieces going on here and there. It's one of the reasons why I like Severed so much, because it was like my first taste of Dead Space, but not Dead Space. It was on the side, and I really enjoyed it. I got let out of that, so
yeah.
I got a question from Dom. Do you think you should decide DLC with another character in place?
If they can without compromising the main game, then sure, I'd be for that. No, I'd be curious to know what character they would use, but yeah, I'd be okay with it.
Wasn't like it was some random guy in Dead Space 2 Severed?
It was a member of. No, he was related.
A unitologist, was he?
No. The Severed guy. He was. It was related to the Dead Space 1 stuff, I believe.
Interesting. Yeah.
Let me get it back up here because I can't remember exactly. But no, it had revelations. Yeah, it was. Gabe Weller.
He's the main protagonist of Extraction. Yeah, it's little
Extraction. Yes, exactly. And
little pieces of lore like that is really good. Like before the events of the game or before the events occur, you see the struggles of other miners or other characters that might be around. So I think that's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah, because he does that, and then he works for the security on the sprawl, and then all hell breaks loose. So.
Yeah, that's like one of the more interesting parts about Dead Space. Like, despite it being, let's be honest here, a pretty niche thing compared to other horror icons, it has quite a bit of expansive lore, ranging from comics to movies, other games, and so on and so forth. So like, they have a lot of lore they could work with for like maybe a game if they wanted to. So I'm all for like having more spin-off games for other things. Not just around Isaac, because it worked before, so when I do it again.
And Gabe's rig was awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely awesome, Mr. Spartan.
Yeah, got anything to add to the discussion?
Yes, we apologies for like inviting you and then talking for like 3 minutes straight.
Yeah, my bad.
No, you guys are all right.
So
what do you make of the announcements then, buddy?
Yeah.
Ecstatic, absolutely ecstatic. I was 10 years old when I first played the first game, probably a little bit too young, but it got me into like the horror and the ambience, where the scariest thing about Dead Space was the sounds, the noises, etc. You didn't know what was around the corner, you didn't know what was making those noises. And that just freaked me out, and I loved it.
That's something you think that they should definitely try and maintain and maybe even improve on in the remake?
Yeah, because I read the IGN interview that they posted yesterday, and in it, the developers were saying that they were going to create 3D audio, which I think is a really good thing. It's like, you hear a sound, but then it expands upon the depth of that, so you don't know where it's coming from. And I think that will really add to the atmosphere of Dead Space.
Think about Dead Space ASMR. I can get behind it.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, can you imagine somebody going to have an ASMR form?
Well, we already have that with the guy like beating his head on the pipes in the first game, right?
Yes.
Anything else you want to add, Spartan, about Dead Space and how you feel about it and the articles you read from yesterday?
I'm interested to see what they do. From what I've understood with the articles, it seems like it's solely in the developers' hands and not going to follow the same path as Dead Space 3, which is fantastic. I think EA has finally learned their lessons from Jedi Fallen Order and Star Wars Squadrons, where if you let a game developer truly bring their vision to life, it's not going to fail colossally.
Yeah, it's a little bit also more on the tech side as well. Like, we didn't mention that they apparently have enhanced sound, so that Dolby Atmos is going to be insane. And they also have like RTX, ray tracing, all these enhancements that's going to make the game look a whole lot better. So honestly, like, as much as we say we're like cautiously optimistic about this game, they're doing like really great things to enhance it from a technical standpoint, and I really like that a lot.
Yeah, there's been 10 years of advancements since the original game came out. Like, that is a enormous scope of additional power and tools and everything that you've got at your disposal. And if you feel that you don't need to really tweak with the base game all that much, then you can spend a lot of the development time in utilizing those tools and integrating them as best as you can. Now, if they decide they want to remake the game a bit more from the ground up, then it's a little bit more speculative. But
yeah, I think they're going to take the same road as Resident Evil did, Capcom did with RE2. Resident Evil, the original and the remake, basically follows the same linear path, but the areas have been expanded upon. Like in the trailer yesterday, we knew where that section was, even though parts of it had completely changed. We knew what it was. Hardcore gamers of the franchise knew what it was, but it also looked completely different. And I'm excited for that because we know what's going to happen if it's a remake, which it is. And it's pardon, stumbling my words.
Sorry?
If they follow through the entire story, which they're doing, we'll know which areas we're going to. But it'll be very interesting to see how they've reimagined that, how they've reimagined the enemies, the sounds, the locations and such. That would be very interesting to see.
Needs to be more than just fan service to a series that's not been really mentioned for years. It needs to actually stand up on its own 2 feet as well.
Exactly. And I think they're also doing this, like, again, with what Resident Evil did, bring in new fan base. I think this is Dead Space's final chance where if this doesn't do well, that could be it for the entire franchise, because it kind of went into a lull for like 8 years after Dead Space 3. And I think this might be its make it or break it session.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Do or die now.
Yeah, I mean, well,
fans
you
will
don't
support it.
bring anything out for like 8 years, and you suddenly decide, oh, we're going to remake the first game. It's a pretty big sword to potentially fall on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the fact that, was it Glen Schofield, the original creative director of the first game, that he's excited to see what happens, that's good. That's a step in the right direction. But again, I think the biggest thing that EA needs to learn from this is just to stay away. Stay away for the time being.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
It's like
Intel.
we're not in 2013 anymore. Not every single game needs to have co-op. Not every single game needs to have microtransactions. Will I be happy if they bring the tank suit back? Absolutely. That thing was a beast. It just made me feel like Iron Man. But I mean, they need to find a balance. I don't mind a few skins here and there. I really don't mind that. But if they send the game and they push microtransactions, that would be like what Dead Space 3 did, and it will just kill it. It'll kill it on launch because nobody was happy with them. I bought the microtransactions because I got bored after a couple of years. I bought them a few years after it came out.
Yeah, we'll test them. We'll see, because they did say no micros, no MTX, and that's not going to be in the game. So we will see if they are telling the truth or lying later after launch.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they could.
Go ahead,
one final thing, they could do what the Star Wars Squadrons did, where they released the game, and wasn't it a couple months ago they released free content, a TIE fighter and was it the A-Wing in an update?
I believe so. That's a good idea, though.
They could do that. EA could have made a fortune with Jedi Fallen Order in microtransactions, but they didn't, because I think they wanted to. They realised what a colossal clusterfuck, pardon my French, Battlefront 2 was. So
yeah, they learned the lessons. Well, at least they're trying to, though. But they slowly but surely takes time, because even then, like, they made a new studio for Skate, so like they're doing something. So let's hope they keep that momentum up. Otherwise, EA would be back where they were, 4 years ago.
No, exactly.
All right. Can you outro yourself? Like, any socials to plug or anything?
Got no socials at the moment. No, nothing gamer related. So.
All right. Well, that's fine. Well, thank you for joining us. We want to let you go. Bring our next guest. Have a good day or night or whatever it is for you.
It's 1 a.m, so very good morning.
But Derek said he had a point and he wanted to come in real quick, and then we'll see if the other guest wants to speak, and then we'll end it right there.
All right.
All right.
There we go. You're live,
Hello,
Eric.
hello. Hey,
Oh.
hey.
Oh,
Oh, I was just in the chat, right? I'm perusing in your lovely Discord, by the way. If you haven't joined the Infinite Ammo Syndicate horror server, you should go ahead and do that now if you're listening. Shameless plug here. Anyway, I was talking to one of your members, and we just brought up a good thing. What if it had like VR capability?
It's not
Oh,
outrageous, but I don't know. It feels to me like we're in a bit of a phase. Like I feel like VR's gone a bit out of fashion the past couple of years. I don't know if that's something you'd agree, like you guys, but it feels
I
like
can't
it's kind of,
say
it was all in for ages, but it just feels like it's kind of like there's definitely obviously expansions on the tech and that, but it doesn't feel like it's as much of a craze about it as there has been.
well, about the craze, maybe though, but just like okay, since I don't have a VR machine, I'm nothing VR related, right? I don't keep up with that scene, so from looking from the outside, I don't notice anything that was too outlandish. No, it like unless something comes big on the PSVR, I don't look into the VR scene because right now I don't have much interest in it, nor have I the hardware or the room for starters to use it. So I don't keep up with the VR scene, so I can't necessarily say it was out of fad or whatever, you know.
I know
I
people.
I don't delve into it much either. As I more generalize, like I don't hear anywhere near as much about it as I used to do, say like 2-3 years ago.
I know people complain that it wasn't in Village, and that's the last time I really heard of the big time VR uproar, is that it wasn't in Village, and therefore, why is it not a feature? But it could work, all things considered. I'm just not sure if they should put it in the remake because I don't want them to compromise the main game without VR or anything like that.
Yeah, that's the thing I was thinking about. Like, VR is something that takes a lot of dev time, right? So like, if it's not built from the start, then might as well add it later. But I feel like that'd be better suited for a game like around like a on rail type shit. I'm not against the idea of VR Dead Space goes. It can work. Like they could be like a side project with it. It's just I don't want them to compromise the remake just to add in a gimmick that not many people currently have. That thing is not popular enough, but it should not be priority.
Extraction 2, come on.
Of course. I was saying more like an optional thing later down the road, not.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's
If you think of like Aliens, for example, that sort of idea, like I think definitely, like if done properly, like it could be pretty terrifying.
Right. It's all about the atmosphere, as we said before about the Dead Space universe. And and I decided to look it up a little bit more about Dead Space Remake, and I see it's coming on the PC.
Yes.
So imagine like Kitty from the Yakuza series.
Oh my fucking god!
As our rough and tough protagonist, and just taking down necromorphs. That could be kind of sweet.
I mean, the level of modding that may be present for this game might be on a level that we have never rectified with in our lives. So
if I can't get Lady D stomping on some fucking necromorphs, I'm gonna fucking riot. That's what I'm saying.
I'm more concerned of the necros being turned into Barneys, to be honest. But that's just me.
No. We're not talking about. We're talking about Thomas the Tank Engine type level going on here. Maybe Teletubbies. Who knows?
I was thinking that Teletubbies.
I think it's gonna
There
be.
are times
It's gonna
that
be
I hate
naked
the
Mr.
internet.
X.
There
all
are
over the place.
times I just hate the internet.
I would pay for that mod. I'll pay for that Mr. X mod. I'll tell you that for free. Hey, man, that's all I want. I just wanted to bring out the VI topic. That's
I think
thank you.
down one. Yeah, I
That's
can see
good.
that, man.
Yeah, of course. Also, also put it on the Switch too. That's all I got. Bye.
Oh, get out.
You asshole.
All right. Bring in Psyche. I hope that's it right.
They want to speak?
Yeah, I guess so. If they want to.
If people want to have a quick chat, skis, you're more welcome to.
I will do invite to speaks and.
I know Mr. Singh.
One was
I think
denied.
Yeah. Okay. So that person went inside. That's fine. Sing, come in here.
There he is.
Howdy.
Hey, Sandturn, how you doing?
Come on.
I gotta get one in. All right, Sing, man. What are your initial impressions on the remake announcements and whatnot?
Well, I mean, I'm at one hand, I'm happy that it's being acknowledged. On the other, it's just gotta wait and see how it plays out, I guess.
Little sus, maybe, or not convinced by it yet.
it's really hard to tell with EA nowadays. You got like some decent entries like Jedi Fallen Order and whatnot, but then of course you've got the rest of the reps. So it's really 50-50 to be quite honest.
I don't feel like EA's been that terrible like the past year or two. I mean, obviously, I'm to like you say, Mass Effect's Legendary Remake, which has gone down pretty damn well, all things considered. So maybe they reckon,
All right.
they got that done.
As far as releasing games, though, barring FIFA and Madden, they're doing fine for those titles, right? But just the problem with EA, even in current years, just other stuff that happened outside of those great games that were released. But other than that, no, as far as games is concerned, they're fine. It's just Madden sucks, FIFA sucks. Move on.
It to show that the reputational damage that can happen to some companies, even outside their video games, which is something that a current company may well do to listen to and learn from at this current time. I think it's just the fact, obviously EA for a long time had a pretty bad tagline with it, and it's been difficult for them to shake. A lot of companies had this. Capcom had their phase, years ago. They had their downswings, and they've come back from it pretty well.
The Dark Ages.
Yeah, exactly. So it can definitely be fought back from. Although EA probably has had a bigger hill to climb than probably most.
Yep, because I mean, after Anthem, oh boy, that was one
nuts.
culling right there.
Yeah, that was. I think Catastrophe might be an undersell.
And Battlefield 5 is one of them as well. Like, that's not the biggest one though, but it definitely did some damage to their reputation with the behind the scenes stuff and developers being, say not too kind to some of the objective criticisms towards the game. But
it's Battlefield and DICE. I think whatever they say at this rate, they're gonna bounce back because we already see it with the new one.
They're really bouncing back with the new one though. Assuming if DICE developing it, because I didn't see their name on it.
I don't know actually. That's something I don't know.
Yeah, but like Battlefield is fine.
So how much you played the series thing?
So like with Dead Space in particular, it's mostly been the first two. I had never really got a chance to play the third one because I didn't have my 360 at the time. But yeah, for the most part, it's just been 1, 2, and I can't remember the name of, but it was the side game that
Severed. Oh, Extraction?
Ignition.
I think Ignition was it was a side game that was just more like a choose your own adventure sort of thing.
Is it a puzzle element?
Puzzle thing.
Oh yeah, your poor soul.
Yeah.
But your memories of the first game are still pretty positive though, right? On the whole?
For the most part, like I definitely remember the infamous jump scares, as in the ones that kind of defy the player expectations of what was safe and what wasn't. And
So
I'm just kind of hoping they retain that for this remake. But again, not really sure how they can add to it.
It is a difficult position to be in, of like trying to keep things fresh for those that have played these games in the past. I may have played them sort of semi recently, but not completely alienating those that have never touched the series before. It's a difficult line that a lot of these companies the past years have had to walk. Some have done a decent job of it, some haven't done so well. But I still think that I think it'll be pretty solid with this. I just don't see him making that grave a misstep with this, which is a really weird thing to say. I don't know why.
One potential misstep, probably cutting certain enemy types like the babies.
Well, I mean, there was probably gonna have to be some changes here and there. I mean, Dead Space to me was a bit of a product of its time, a little bit in some of the things that happened and the things they were able to get away with. But I mean, to be fair though, like you look at some of the games very recently that have come out have been extraordinarily violent. Resident Evil Village had whatever the hell that was in the Beneviento manner, so maybe they could get away with it.
I mean, Village had a hand or two with violence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the most violent games I've ever played.
I get that reference. Fuck you. Oh my god.
I'm innocent.
A hand or two. Ethan loses a hand. But
all right. Sing. You got anything else to add in? Any other points you want to mention? No?
To be honest, not really. I think I've said I pretty much wanted to say.
Fair enough.
All right, that's fine. Yeah. All right. In that case, then, go ahead and outro yourself. Outro yourself, because
social media plugs. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can at me at Twitter at sing_long, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, man. It's been quite the explosive experience with you, bro. So thank you for joining us for discussion.
All right, thank you for having me.
Take care, man. It's good to meet you.
Take care. And that was fun. That was really fun. We need to do more horror discussions in here like this. That's cool.
I think it's when you have like the sort of more newsy articles, they really lend themselves to this whole kind of idea, this whole system. Just naturally it does, because a lot of people have different takes on it. So,
oh, believe me, if and I'm saying a big if that abandoned thing is Silent Hill, we will be here and we will be talking about it.
We could be here the day.
Yeah. Because we don't know, but this guy constantly making allusions to Kojima every 5 seconds. It's just weird to me. Like, I don't want to believe it, but at the same time, I have a feeling that something's going to happen with this game. So my eyes are definitely to the ground trying to figure out what's going on with this.
No smoke without fire.
Yep.
That's true. But Ren, I could visually see you eyes on the ground looking for anything.
Yes, I'm looking for the magic K word, Kojima. I'll find his name, damn it.
All right. Well, with that note, I guess we're done with any guest callers because nobody's joining. So with that, thank you everybody who came in and gave their piece on the remake, and I hope all of you had a great time that's listening. So get the fuck out and go stump something.
Don't be Activision.
Yes, avoid the Isaac reach. Yeah, stomp them out. That works too.
Stomp them out.